Chandler Cox cat.
So Chandler Cox leading the way for those
tight
guys.
Too.
And then Malik Miller.
That's a good point.
Malik Miller being a third string. Super
I like that
solid
Malik
backer.
Miller kid. That kid's pretty good. He's solid. He's his legs, like you were calling it, and I'll let you make the comparison to the guy you were calling him earlier, and he's a little bit better than him. Go ahead.
I apologize. Who was that?
Peyton Barber.
Oh no, yeah, no, you're right. That was last week we were talking. Yeah, he's a Peyton Barber style of runner. He's kind of built like Peyton Barber. Really straightforward. Not overly shifty, not overly fast, but has the fall forward knack. Has the very good vision. So he's going to find the hole and hit it hard and get what he can and get to the ground. And that was probably Peyton Barber's, saving grace and redemption, was that he would find the hole and he would go at it hard and then stay low, and then once he was done, he was done. But positive yardage almost all the time. And Malik Miller is very much in that role. And if we got into a situation like we did a couple of years ago, where we were down to Peyton Barber, nobody else, then with Malik Miller in that role, I think we're okay, especially given what we have at quarterback, what we haven't had in the past. But I think we'd be okay.
We're just not going to talk about him?
What's that?
Are we just not going to talk about Cam Martin?
Preferably not. So
it's a little too early to write him off.
No, I'm not.
I mean, come on.
Okay, pot, kettle, black. All right. So
on top of the fact, let's just put it this way: Cameron Petway got run into the ground last year.
Yep.
Out. Kerryon Johnson never stays healthy ever.
Weak ankles.
I mean, weak ankles. So, I mean, there's going to be multiple touches for guys in the 3 and 4 role.
Sure.
Especially
multiple fumbles.
Multiple fumbles. I just can't. He's young, and I
couldn't resist it. I do like the kid.
He's got loads of potential. Cam Martin has loads of potential. 4-star kid. Fantastic running back. If he can, A, keep the ball in his hands when he gets it, and B, catch the ball. Just catch the ball. I understand you're a running back. It's not really your job, but sometimes it is. So catch the ball. That's all.
Oh, it's going to be a big time catch the ball in this offense.
And if he can't do that, he's not going to see the field. So
yeah, Kalen Ballage, the kid who scored 6 touchdowns versus Texas Tech last year at Arizona State, where Chip Lindsey comes from. Mm-hmm. That kid caught the ball a lot. And Deshaun Foster, and I could go on and on about the dudes in the NFL who are hybrid running back,
slot receiver,
pass catchers that just come out of Arizona State, and that's a Chip Lindsey offense. You have to catch the ball if you're going to play running back. Kerryon Johnson's going to have 40 catches this year.
Oh, for sure. And he's that guy. He's that guy. If he does,
something went wrong.
Well, I mean, Cam Petway is Cam Petway, and he's just going to run through walls and over people and do what he does. Kerryon Johnson has that ability to catch the ball. He's such a good athlete. He's very, very dynamic.
He has the longest arms of any running back I've ever seen.
I'll buy
it. He's freaky. Yeah. I mean, his arms just go on for days. His wingspan is going to be incredible when he gets measured at the combine. I guarantee it.
So, speaking of wingspans and catching the football, we'll move on to wide receivers, our last position to talk about before we go to our listener question of the day. And wide receivers, a bunch of people are calling this a question mark, and I guess in a way it is. There's a lot of unknowns as far as game time goes at the wide receiver position. But if you just run through and you take a peek at the roster and you take a peek at that position and you just a quick look and you say, okay, well, Kyle Davis, 6'2", 213. Eli Stove, 6 foot. He's a small guy, 6 foot, 183. Marquise McLean, 6'2", 226. Nate Craig Myers, 6'2", 213. We are so.
He's a tall 6'2" as
He's
well.
a very tall 6'2".
Yeah, I was about to say. Sure, he's 6'2".
No. I was standing next to him
no way
last
in hell
year.
he's 6'2".
Yeah,
He's not.
Christopher and I were right next to him last year after the LSU game, a foot away. And if he's 6'2", I'm 5'5", and I'm not 5'5".
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
He's big.
yeah.
Big
If
dude.
he's 6'2", I'm 5'12", as I like to say.
And I mean, but how many wide receivers do we see come through the NCAAs at 6'4", 225 pounds, and never do anything? There's a bunch of them that go to Arizona State. Harry Neal, who's the kid that went to Texas A&M, and he's been passed up by every other wide receiver. The kid that couldn't stay out of trouble at Missouri, and then went
Dorial Beckham. Dorial Beckham.
Dorial Green Beckham, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, Dorial.
But he
Greenback.
was still a super solid player in college.
The law firm.
So
I just say that your size and your height and your wingspan only go so far.
but these guys all catch the football. Every single one.
They
of them.
do. And
Every
here's the
single
difference that
one of them
is-
catch the football.
Here's something that, and you know my defense of Damian Craig. I'm not going to defend him tonight because he doesn't need it. But that class, you know, with Marquise McLean, with Nate Craig Myers, with Kyle Davis, you know, the big thing about all of them was they were actually wide receivers in high school, not quarterbacks trying to be trained into wide receivers. Sometimes that works great. Sometimes.
And
However, there are
stud.
but for every one of those, I've got 5, 6, 7, 8 of failures. Ricardo Lewis, former quarterback. Trovon Reed, former quarterback. You know,
Jason Smith.
there's parts of Jason Smith, former quarterback.
Don't
There's
get me
parts
wrong.
of
We
being-
have one of those on the roster. John Franklin III is playing wide receiver.
Right, and we don't know how he'll do yet.
Well, he could at least
There's
stretch the
different
field.
aspects of being a receiver. Just because you're a heck of an athlete and you can play quarterback does not mean you're necessarily going to be a great receiver. And all of these guys, though, they were all wide receivers. And
You're right.
I like
And
that.
they were highly rated,
and
and
they had
they're-
great hands.
You're right.
And you know what?
And
3
this-
of those 4 that I just named, everybody except for Marquise McLean because he redshirted last year, all of them are proven in games, at least to a degree. Kyle Davis the most, Eli Stove then, and then Nate Craig Myers simply because he didn't see the field that much. Because, doggone it, Tony Stevens had to be out there. So, we know we couldn't deny him playing time.
There's another kid who's 6'4" and has a Zeus-like body for you, Kraus, that didn't amount to anything really.
Yep. Absolutely.
Tony
But-
Stevens.
But those 3 had the best hands on the team last year. So those
Well, I
3
mean-
are the options out there, and then you got Marquise McLean, who could be the best out of all of them.
Well, I think what matters is not the fact that, no offense to Sean or any other quarterback that played last year, but the quarterback you're getting this year is going to put the ball on the right shoulder or the left shoulder or in front. He's going to put it where he wants it.
Right.
He's going to put it where you need it.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to get your head cut off like Sean White has sometimes done. And he's not going to overthrow you. And he's not going to not throw it to you. and just run the ball around and play circus like Franklin, he's going to be a 65-ish to 70% passer, and he's going to be a stud because that's what Jarrett Stidham is. And he's going to make these receivers look like All-Americans.
He might make them into All-Americans.
Yeah, it just may well happen. Because I think Jarrett Stidham is not just the most important person on this team. He's the most important person in the SEC. And he might prove to be the most important person in the NCAAs. I mean, there's still Lamar. There's still Mark Jackson out there and the Browning and Mayfield's back. And there are some really good quarterbacks. Randolph and Darnold and Rosen. This is a great quarterback year. Jarrett Stidham is right there with those guys in the ways of talent and what the expectation should be for what he did at Baylor.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a rocket arm and he's accurate with it.
And he's got feet, and he's got great feet.
Yes, he does.
You could see a good chunk of safe yardage out of him, 100 to 300 yards of rushing, where it's just a dive keep and, he gets 5 yards. And they do that, 3 times a game.
Sure. So, we can all agree. Lots of potential this year. So, we have a listener question, which may be a first for us, but we have a listener question. So, this comes from Ray in Ohio. And the question is this.
Ray.
The question is this: if Auburn finishes the season at 10-2, with losses to both Georgia and the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa, does Gus Malzahn keep his job as head football coach? I will throw it to Casey first because I am dying to know.
Can I ask how bad the losses are?
Doesn't matter. Let's say Georgia is a 3-point game and Alabama is an 8-point game.
Yeah, he keeps his job. Because you're playing in a top 5 bowl again. You're going to play a premier team. You're getting prime time. You're probably number 2. You'd be the number 2 team in the SEC basically, or the number 3 team in the SEC.
I got a number for you. And this is today. I got a number for you. This is today.
Okay.
1,335. Today. That's how many days it's been since Auburn beat Alabama in tackle football. 1,335 days. And since that's from today, not 4 months from now when they play. And it's been 1,349 days since we beat the University of Georgia in tackle football. So
we got them in flag football, by God.
It's going to be well over 1,400 days since we've seen an Iron Bowl win. And regardless of how fresh the kick six is in my mind and the miracle at Jordan-Hare, it was 2 miracles away from being way more than that. So, as an Auburn fan, I don't think so. You have to win one of those. You have to win one of those. I think that if Gus goes,
so if you win, so you beat Georgia, but you lose to Missouri, that's better?
Yes.
Oh boy, your priorities are all weird.
Christopher?
We played Georgia every year. We'll play Missouri once in a blue moon.
But my point is that Georgia has
they ain't going anywhere.
But Georgia has the number 1 quarterback recruit.
So is it okay to lose to them every year? I mean, we're just supposed to accept that?
Better than almost anyone in the nation. And it's not like they're a slum team. And you lose. Okay, but you say it's okay to lose to Missouri, who's garbage.
I'm not saying. First of all, I don't think it's okay to lose to anybody. Like, losing sucks. I hate it.
But I would say you'd rather lose to a what might amount to be to a good Georgia team than to a really bad Missouri team who barely have a university after what happened there 2 years ago.
If we hadn't lost 3 years in a row to Georgia and 3 years in a row to Alabama, I might agree. I
would
would agree with you.
wholeheartedly agree.
But the problem